Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the final episode of Mock Draft Mondays. Yes, the 2023 draft season comes to a close as it's draft week. And we are all very excited to see what the Cowboys do in this draft. And in the spirit of that, as I mentioned at the beginning of this draft season, you're going to get a full 7-round mock draft from start to finish with this particular draft scenario. Now keep in mind, like we've been doing for the month of April, it's going to be what we think the Cowboys would do if the board fell a certain way. And I'm telling you right now that this board can just go in any particular direction. There has not been one mock draft where it's like it's going to go like this, then it's going to go like that, and then it's going to go here. It's not been like that. It's been very random every single time. So with that, that's what we're going to hope to do today, and with it, close out draft season. And considering the fact that we're already here at the draft, there really is no need to talk about the Cowboys because there hasn't been a whole lot of Cowboys news to talk about, hence why the mini hiatus as I went on vacation. So what's going to happen is, before we get straight into the video, we're going to be doing this one. We might do another video before the draft talking about what we're hearing at pick 26, and then we might do a live stream on draft day depending if I have enough time. So just stay tuned for that, and if you wish to support the channel and show that, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and hit that notification bell. And without further ado, let's dive into our final mock draft.
With the 26th pick, the Dallas Cowboys select
Bijan Robinson, running back, Texas. Now, ladies and gentlemen, he is no stranger to getting picked in these mock draft scenarios, but in this case, the Cowboys get wiped to where Bijan Robinson is the best player on the board. You know, you had plenty of guys like Michael Mayer go, Osiris Torrance, Steve Avila. Those guys all went before the Cowboys picked. And it really just comes down to who they value the most on their draft board. Do they like Kalijah Cansey? Do they like Dalton Kincaid? Do they like Brian Breesy? Do they like Will McDonald IV? These are names that are on the board right now. However, if Bijan Robinson makes it to 26, I highly doubt the Dallas Cowboys pass up on him, considering what they would view him as with this offense, with Dak Prescott, with the offensive line getting retooled. Look, the Cowboys, if they firmly believe they're in a win-now situation, will take Bijan Robinson if he's available, and they'll just figure out the rest later. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people would love the pick. There will be plenty of people that hate the pick. I'm not here to say yes or no to it. All I know is that if Bijan Robinson is there and the Cowboys get wiped out everywhere else, he will be the pick. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and turn Bijan's card in here, and we're going to move on to pick 58.
the Dallas Cowboys select
Derek Hall, defensive end, Auburn. Now listen, ladies and gentlemen, there's no question about it. The Dallas Cowboys want to have a succession plan in place for DeMarcus Lawrence, as well as getting some insurance in the event that you don't want to bring back Dante Fowler or Dorrance Armstrong. The reason those names are important, they both have expiring deals in 2024. Dorrance Armstrong signed the 2-year deal that expires, and you just brought back Dante Fowler on a 1-year contract. So you have to kind of follow these contracts, and you have to say to yourself, will the Cowboys look at adding an edge rusher or someone onto that defensive line? And I guarantee you they're going to do that. Now, why would Derek Hall be the pick? Now, they did meet with him during the scouting combine, and that is something that is notable because the Cowboys really like to do their homework on some of these guys. But more importantly, what does he bring to the table that the Cowboys might be looking at? Well, strong run defender on the edge. On top of that, he has a skill set that Dan Quinn can help develop with the pass rush. And on top of that, you look at the overall build that he has, and he's something that Dan Quinn can definitely work with. And at the end of the day, when you look at what Derek Hall has brought to the table when he's at Auburn, and you kind of look at how DeMarcus Lawrence came into the fray when he was out of Boise State, it looks very similar. And Derek Hall is not going to be someone that overnight you're going to see success. But if you can develop him properly, he can turn into a DeMarcus Lawrence-like player if things pan out. So that's what I really like about him as a player and as a prospect. And if the Cowboys are looking for a long-term guy that can possibly get a second contract in that defensive end room, Derek Hall would be that. So let's go ahead and move on to pick 90 and see what's going to happen there.
The Dallas Cowboys select
Jacqueline Roy, defensive tackle, LSU. So there's no question about it that the Cowboys really like Roy, and they've met with him several times during this draft process, and we've talked about him on this channel. So the question is, well, what does he bring to the table given how this draft is unfolded? Well, you did get Derek Hall in the previous round on the edge, and now you're going to get someone in the interior. We also have to keep in mind, when you look at that interior, you can add to that. And Jonathan Hankins, if that's a name you're keeping an eye out on, has one more year, and he's probably out of here. So Roy isn't going to be expected to be a key contributor A1 day one where we need him to do his thing. He'll definitely be in that Sam Williams type of development phase where he'll get time to make plays, but he's not going to be requested to really be the we need you to be that guy. And so the way I look at it is that when you take Jacqueline Roy, you are primarily getting a run defender on the interior. You're not getting a pass rusher at that defensive tackle spot. And I do know that there are times where he can shed blocks a bit late, and also depending on how he's attacking the offensive lineman that he's going up against, he can struggle. But look, you're not expecting this dude to do more than be a run defender that can develop possibly some pass rush skill moves so that he can be a better player at that level. You know, if he can develop like Osa Odigizua has done in this Mike McCarthy era, which I think he has a similar skill set, if I do say so myself, and I could be wrong there, but that's what people have been telling me and what I've been looking at. I'm going to just say it right now, you're going to have another piece onto this defensive line to build around. And also, if Roy comes into his own and you don't want to pay Osa, you can end up having a guy to move on from down the road. So with that being said, we're going to take Roy here at pick 90, and we're going to move on to the next pick, which is 129.
the Dallas Cowboys select
DeMarvion Overshone, linebacker, Texas. Now, as a side note, when it comes to day 3, I'm not really super key into what happens. Ultimately, it's who's best on the board and what makes sense for the team at the time. And this is a prospect where you could see him go in the 3rd round, and he falls into round 4, so he's the best player on the board. You take him. You know, Dan Quinn loves the guy. They've met with him. And, you know, you have a skill set there where you can add another linebacker to this mix. And while he does have some issues when it comes to playing against the run and his tackling, I do think that he can be a productive player for what he would be as a day 3 pick. I'm not going to talk about him a whole lot, as I've mentioned him previous times in these mock drafts, but that's what we're going with at pick 129. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the next pick, which is 169.
the Dallas Cowboys select
Raheem Jarrett, wide receiver, Maryland. So the Dallas Cowboys add another receiver into this mix to build up some competition. So the way I look at it, you have CeeDee Lamb, you have Brandon Cooks, Michael Gallup, and then you have Jalen Tolbert. And then after that, it's really a bunch of question marks, to be completely honest. Oh, we got Simi Fehoko. We have X, Y, and Z. You could throw all these names out there, guys. I just think at the end of the day, you're going to need someone else in there to compete. And I think Raheem Jarrett is a guy that the Cowboys like that can step in. And again, day 3 picks, I'm not expecting a whole lot of. All I'm expecting you to do is be solid at best. And maybe if you're anything better than that, that's A-okay with me. A couple things that I really like about him is his run after the catch ability and his IQ that's on display when it comes to what he does in that. A couple things that I don't really like about his game that he can fix is his catch radius, and on top of that, sometimes he has issues with separation. And again, when you have a guy like him, he is going to be a work in progress, and I'm not expecting this dude to be a starter. Absolutely not. But if this guy can morph into a, you know, rotational receiver at best, I think that's a win for a 5th round pick. So we're going to go ahead and take Jarrett here, and we're going to move on to pick 212.
the Dallas Cowboys select
Clayton Tune, quarterback, Houston. So Mike McCarthy decides to add another quarterback to the room, and Clayton Tune is the guy. He has definitely been on the Cowboys' radar, and the question is what is there to like about him? Well, when it comes to what you see on film, Clayton Tune is really good when it comes to short and medium accuracy when it comes to his passes. He has slight mobility as well. That's something to desire. And there are a couple things that worry me with him as a passer, such as his downfield throwing and getting the ball down there, whether that means arm strength or also the downfield accuracy. You can put it however you want. I think it's both. He does have a nice build for a quarterback, 6'2", 220, and there's nothing really to complain about there. Again, when you look at a guy like Clayton Tune, you're not asking this dude to be your starter. You're saying, can this guy end up being a better player than Cooper Rush? And I think he can be. He has the tool set. It's a matter of can he achieve that, and I think that he would be a nice fit for the Cowboys at this pick. So let's go ahead and let's move on to our final pick in this draft, and that's at 244, and we're going to wrap this thing up.
The Dallas Cowboys select
Brandon Hill, safety, Pittsburgh. So the Dallas Cowboys end this draft by taking the safety out of Pittsburgh, and I'm going to be completely honest with you. This really comes down to with what's been told and where the Cowboys are looking. They're not going to be afraid to add another player into the safety room, and they shouldn't be afraid to do that whatsoever. So you get a guy in Brandon Hill. I'm not going to go super deep into him as a prospect because I'm going to be honest with you. The only give you pros and cons because he isn't a name that I have researched thoroughly compared to the other individuals on this list. So that's no disrespect to Brandon Hill. It's just there's a lot of names you have to go through, and I'm not going to lie to you guys. So with that, that wraps up this mock draft, and we have our pencils down mock draft, and this is just one scenario that can go down. I'm not saying for certain this is what's going to happen or predicting that this is going to happen, but if it does come push to shove and this is the scenario, tell me what you guys think. Would you be upset if the Cowboys had a draft like this? Is this a good draft? Is it a bad draft? By all means, tell me down below. And with that being said, put down in the comment section your 7-round mock drafts for the Dallas Cowboys as we enter the final week of draft season. I can't believe I'm saying that because of how long we've been doing this, but I'm really excited, guys. The draft is here, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Have a great rest of your day.